Imagine living a double life. A life where you're a grade A student with the highest SAT score in your school by day and a gun-wielding homicidal drill artist by night. Noah Scurry, aka Joker OTV, might just be a prime example of book smarts not equaling street smarts. I don't think there's a single time where I've seen the tale of two cities unfold in the most crash out way possible. A genius apparently in the classroom and straight autistic with a Glock on the internet. Brug straight got a music video with like 10 Glocks with McButtons stuffed in a refrigerator door like month-old popsicles. You know, navigating the underworlds of the North Philly drill scene, he became infamous for claiming rec for the son of one of Philly's biggest names, Gillie Da Kid.
Triple shooting in Philadelphia's Olney section claimed the life of an up-and-coming musician. The 25-year-old rap artist was known as YNG CHEESE, and he's the son of well-known influencer Gillie Da Kid.
Bruh tried to take his crash out talents into music, but his ops were not having it. He unfortunately dropped one song and didn't even make it a week before the ops caught him lacking. While his story came to a surprising and bloody conclusion, the nation was captivated by his lore through TMZ articles and blog posts. Honestly, it was hard for anyone to wrap their head around how a 17-year-old basketball star and student athlete could meet his demise in a cold morning in January. However, when you look at the story of the beast surrounding him, the story that led up to putting these YouTube videos dissing the ops up, the story that many believe ties him to the murder of none other than YNG CHEESE, everything starts to make more sense. So today, we gotta talk about the beef that took out Joker OTV, aka Noah Scurry, one of North Philly's brightest prospects who threw his life away for no reason at all. We gotta get into it right now, but before we do, gang, I'm gonna need you to tap in, man. Check the link in the description for the merch, hit that notification bell so whenever I post, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 100K subs. I know we can get it probably just off this video alone, man. So make sure y'all tap in and we're gonna get into this one thing at a time. Bro, I know you see those memes about YNs and how they be ready to catch a hat for the most minor of inconveniences. While it would be a lie to stereotype and say every YN is on that type shit, there's no doubt in my mind that if you box anyone in a dog-eat-dog environment, they're gonna adapt to their cage to survive. North Philly is one of those places. The type of places that could turn an average bull on the block into a stray demon by the company they keep around them. While this seems unique to just Joker OTV, this is actually by design, with the government intentionally making Philadelphia one of the most segregated cities in the nation. You ever wonder why Philly is so bad for real? Yeah, Philly is in the Northeast, but the government was straight plotting for decades to keep black people in their own little areas with this racist policy called redlining. Basically, TLDR, it all dates back way before Joker or Lil Uzi or Meek Mill, back to the 1930s. At the time, mad southern black folks started moving to Philadelphia to get better jobs, which they ended up doing. And North Philly was not actually a bad area to live in. Back in those times, it was a primarily an affordable white neighborhood in the city, so many black people back in the day started setting up shop there, you know, having families and living there, owning houses. Those white people that lived there then moved out in droves because they saw their neighborhoods getting more diverse. The government wasn't really vibing with that, so they intentionally didn't allow any black people to have mortgages if they lived in any other parts of the city besides the north and the west. At the same time, the Great Depression had been going in full steam, and the federal government began allowing white homeowners to refinance their houses to stop the foreclosures and people losing their houses. But they didn't do that for the black population living in these areas. Mix that with mad industrial jobs leaving the city throughout the 20th century, and you got an extreme hotbed of crime that has been brewing for almost 100 years. You got America's 6th largest city with over 1.6 million residents having a higher murder per capita rate than Chicago, the 3rd biggest city that's almost 2 times the size of Philly. And smack dab in the middle of this war zone where crash outs stack up bodies like Jenga towers, you got gangs fighting over control, get backs, and in this environment, you got where Joker OTV grew up. You see, Joker OTV, aka Noah Scurry, was an infamous shooter from the Feltonville area in the northeast section of Philadelphia. Being from this area, he was no stranger to drills, death, and gang violence growing up. However, one thing that was pretty remarkable was despite all this going around, he still apparently took school and basketball seriously, even though he wasn't in the best school environment. Living in this this area though, he joined a group of shooters most likely for protection against the craziness in North Philly, but that was probably his downfall. He ended getting close with a gang from the close by Frankfurt neighborhood called Parkside, also known as CC or Certified Clappers or just Frankfurt. By this point, around the time in the pandemic, he apparently started causing mayhem in the city, as everyone that was around him was most likely doing that too. And in doing so, his gang ended up being dragged into a crazy beat that could play a role in how he was gunned down just a couple days ago, which we'll get into in chapter 2, MT4. While North Philly is kind of a large area, it seems that all the gang politics is intertwined with each other because a large swath of gangs are posted just blocks away from each other. I mean, I wouldn't even call them gangs, they're more cliques, just groups of people that happen to have hella guns and switches and just a mentality ready to just murk people. Pair this with limited resources and generations of get backs, and you're looking at the reason why the murder rate has risen to unprecedented levels. I mean, fortunately in 2024 it was down compared to other years, but before that it was straight mayhem. Parkside was no stranger to having a lot of problems throughout the city, but one of the most notable was their issue with the gang M24 from the only neighborhood just north of Philly. You see, M24 is a recognizable gang having ties to some pretty big rappers like D12 and close ties to YNG CHEESE, the son of Gillie Da Kid. M24 getting their name from the neighborhood they rep and only being around the Masher and Nedro, 2nd and Champ Loss, and 4th Street. Put it together, you got M24. At the same time, younger members from that area were tied into them, were repping a clique of YNs called Fast Break, based in the same area on the northern border at 65th Ave and Ogons. They have a close ties to M24. Not much is known about Fast Break besides the fact that they are mad young, mad crazy, and get their name for, you know, quickly shooting people. Things have gotten so bad that the DA of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, had a whole press conference on one rainy day last year in a basketball court to announce that he planned on taking down Fast Break after they had been reportedly involved in the shooting of Philly's psycho grave robber YBC Duel.
Basketball court in Olney. DA Larry Krasner reports he's charged. A 16-year-old with the killing of 2 and the wounding of others is part of a shooting group known as Fast Break.
A small group of young people in the city of Philadelphia made a decision to hold a gun, to point a gun at another human being and pull the trigger.
The alleged teenage shooter is Aiden Waters. The DA says he's the killer of 25-year-old rapper Abdul Vix in a shooting on the 5500 block of North Fairhill Street in...
Despite that whole crazy beat that I talked about, Fast Break and M24 have a long-standing feud with Parkside, with Parkside members having public disputes in court to just general dissing for years. These groups have been at odds for a minute. However, things would go completely left when a notable associate of M24 would be gunned down surprisingly one night just several years ago, and that was the shooting that took out Gillie Da Kid's son that we mentioned earlier, YNG CHEESE.
We're trying to piece together what led to a shooting in Olney that left 1 man dead, 2 other people injured. It happened around 8:30 tonight at Masher Street and Nedro Avenue in Olney. Police say a 25-year-old man was killed. 2 other men are in stable condition. No one was arrested.
Devin Spady, aka YNG CHEESE, was a notable personality and known throughout the city due to his dad's rise to fame with one of the biggest hip-hop platforms really on the planet, $1 million worth of game. But when Gillie Da Kid was getting $100 million deals with Barstool, his son was wanting to be in the trenches. One summer night in 2023, though it seemed like the trench living eventually had ended up catching up to him, YNG CHEESE had been posted up with M24 members on the 5800 block of Masher Street. Little did he know, several masked gunmen were plotting on the group. Many point to this incident being a case of mistaken identity, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. But the shooters were looking for blood and came upon a Mercedes that had been still running with 3 people posted upside. Apparently CHEESE had just stepped outside for 2 seconds, but that's all it takes, a second, to get caught lacking, and it was too late. The shooters caught him by surprise and the group sprinted. All 3 of them would get hit, but 2 of them would manage to get away. However, YNG CHEESE, aka Devin Spady, wasn't so lucky. He got shot in the back in the process of running and unfortunately died at the scene before medical personnel could get there. Off rip, that was a crazy situation, but apparently it would be this chain of events that 2 years later would apparently result in the death of the kid that we know as Joker OTV, and I'll explain how right now, apparently how it went down in chapter 3, Real Joker. Man, it's no secret that Joker OTV, aka Noah Scurry, had major issues with members of Fast Break because bro made it his mission to make it the most federal and self-snitching beef that you can imagine. Honestly, I probably haven't seen blatant disregard for posting online since people like Bloodhound Lil Jeff at this level. This is honestly crazy. Since Joker OTV's death, numerous videos have surfaced like an IG story of him beating up 2 members of Fast Break in broad daylight, on top of his many claims that a recent Fast Break member named Fat Dave, who was killed in broad daylight, was a result of Joker. But the craziest, most self-snitching moment would probably have to be his song that he dropped with Drench Season called Swing My Doors. Bro, I shit you not, this is the most buttons I've ever seen on one place on camera. Bro literally says in the song, he came out the V, now he'll never come back again. Seemingly, people believe mentioning the situation with YNG CHEESE literally in the song. It's crazy though, because he doesn't show his face at all throughout the video, and many believe it could have been his way of avoiding snitching on himself, or college basketball scouts seeing his online activity. But either way, it didn't really matter, because the ops were able to find his location and ultimately became his downfall, which we'll talk about in the final chapter right now, the downfall of the Joker. Man, this is just an extreme reminder to anyone young and in the streets that at the end of the day, you're probably gonna get murked if you keep going on that path. And if you already don't care about your lives, you should at least try to stay in a straight path for the people around you. This situation that took out Joker is honestly scarring because it happened right in front of his mother.
Teenager is gunned down in an alleyway behind his home. Noah Scurry is being remembered for his performance both in the classroom and on the basketball court. Games have now been canceled for the rest of the week as the school community mourns his death. It is Tuesday afternoon. I'm Sarah Bloomquist.
And I'm Brian Taft. The big story on Action News tonight is the search for whoever killed Noah Scurry this morning. The 17-year-old shot and killed right in his Feltonville neighborhood.
At around 7:15, Noah Scurry was getting ready to go to school. Him and his mom had just gotten out the house, and she was going to drop him off at school so he wouldn't have to take the bus. However, just as he was unlocking their doors to get in, masked gunmen jumped out of a white SUV and shot multiple shots in their direction, hitting Scurry multiple times before speeding off. First responders pulled up to a chaotic scene of people grabbing onto his seemingly lifeless body, and they scooped him up and took him to a nearby hospital. Unfortunately, they did not make it in time and he succumbed to his injuries. Man, this whole situation is super crazy. Imagine going to sleep at 9 p.m. the night before just to wake up at 6, scope out someone's crib and just try to murk them. Imagine really being that crazy that you be gunning people down first thing in the morning at 7 a.m. bro. You have to be a complete lunatic. And to his mom, I feel bad for her because it doesn't even seem like she knew what was going on. She was just lost, asking why would someone try to murk her son on the news. But when you see his digital footprint and the way the people around him were so willing to crash, it only paints a more painful picture to the state of the community around him. This death has ended a chapter in a wild book, but it really leaves us with more questions than answers. Police were able to locate a white Jeep SUV that was used in the shooting earlier today, so it seems they might be able to find the culprits pretty quickly. It seems because this is such a high profile shooting, the city has no choice but to try to solve it, and it seems like they already have picked someone up for the shooting. It hasn't been announced in the news, but rumors began to spread that M24 affiliate CBaby22 had been arrested. It would make sense. Bro got a whole highlight reel on IG showing Noah and dissing him in every single post, also posting a tribute to the fallen YNG CHEESE, which only added even more speculation on what could have gone down. But you know it's Philly, and people just be claiming wreck and not even doing it. So honestly, like, you might know the person allegedly who did it, but it's like that doesn't mean that that person, you know, did it. I wouldn't say that they went and did it, because why would you in your right mind post this on social media just for people to see? I mean, there are people that are just that fried that be just posting stuff, and I really pity them, because you gotta be a complete, like, bruh, like, you really just gotta not care about life at all if you really posting stuff that you just did. But at the end of the day, you know, we might not know right now, but I think that they're probably gonna find out regardless of who did it. And I'm not saying necessarily that it was even M24 members that did it. It could have been something completely different. You know, people be having all the time in the day to beef with multiple people, and bro apparently had like 4 hats. That's what people are saying right now. So at the end of the day, we really don't know. It could have been anyone, but you know, it's a crazy story. And if he really was tied in to the people that murked YNG CHEESE, or if he was the person that did it himself, that would be even crazier. And it honestly makes me wonder too, what exactly does that mean for Gillie Da Kid, especially with such a high profile shooting as this being posted on TMZ? Is crazy, man. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think, man. Real safe, stay